Welcome to Learning Life Content. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us grow and motivates us to bring you more fascinating and enriching stories. We live in a world of instant connection, endless choice, and comforts our ancestors couldn't even dream of. Our cities gleam, our homes are filled with marvels, and we can buy new clothes with a single click. But what if I told you that the very foundations of this modern world were built by the smallest hands, in the darkest of places? This is the story of an army of children, an army whose stolen youth and brutal labor powered the world we know today. We're going to follow their harrowing journey through deadly factories and lightless mines to reveal the unimaginable price of progress. The Industrial Revolution was a dazzling explosion of human ingenuity. Steam engines roared to life, looms wove cloth faster than human hands ever could, and factories shot up like new cathedrals to industry. Cities like Manchester and Leeds in England became global powerhouses, their mills churning out textiles for a rapidly expanding empire. It was an age of invention, of ambition, and of incredible wealth for a new class of industrialists. For the millions of families flooding in from the countryside, drawn by the siren song of steady work, this new world seemed to hold a promise. But for the poorest, that promise quickly curdled into a nightmare. In the sprawling, soot-stained cities, a new kind of workforce was needed, one that was cheap, compliant, and small enough to fit where adults could not. They found their answer in children. In Britain's booming textile industry, children were a massive part of the labor force, making up between a third and two-thirds of workers in some mills by 1833. Across the Atlantic, by the turn of the 20th century, the U.S. Census counted nearly 2 million children between the ages of 10 and 15 as laborers, more than 1 in 5 kids in that age group. They were the fuel for the furnaces of progress, and for them, there was no glittering promise, only the grim reality of a stolen childhood. So, why children? The answer is as simple as it is brutal. They were the perfect cogs for the new industrial machine. Their small size made them ideal for tasks adults couldn't do. Their nimble fingers could dart in and out of complex, fast-moving machinery. And most importantly, they could be paid a fraction of an adult's wage, sometimes as little as 1/8 the salary, if they were paid at all. And out of the smoke, 3 main roles for this child army emerged. First, there was the pauper apprentice. These were often orphans or children from destitute families, sold by parish workhouses to factory owners. Promised a new life and a trade, they were instead bound by contracts until they turned 21. By the early 1800s, these indentured children made up about a third of the workforce in the British cotton industry. Their lives were a cycle of grueling work and harsh discipline, trapped in a system they couldn't escape. Then there was the scavenger. In the deafening thunder of the textile mills, the youngest children, some just 4 or 5 years old, were given this terrifying job. Their task was to crawl underneath massive running spinning mules to pick up loose cotton waste. They had to be fast, twisting their bodies in the cramped, oily space and scrambling out before the machine's heavy carriage rolled back and crushed them. And deep beneath the earth, there was the trapper. In the pitch-black darkness of the coal mines, children as young as 5 would sit alone for up to 12 hours a day. Their only job? To open and close a heavy wooden door to let coal carts pass and to keep the air flowing. It was lonely, monotonous work, done in silence and darkness, with the constant threat of danger if they fell asleep. One 7-year-old trapper, John Saville, testified in 1842 that he only ever saw daylight on Sundays. These weren't just jobs. They were identities forged in hardship, roles in a massive industrial play where the smallest actors bore the heaviest burden. Imagine your day starting not with the sun, but with the shriek of a factory whistle before dawn. For a child laborer, the workday began as early as 3 or 4 a.m. After a meager breakfast, maybe some dry bread, they'd walk to the mill or descend into the mine, where they would stay for the next 12, 14, or even 16 hours. Inside a British textile mill, the air itself was an assault. Thick with cotton dust, it clogged the lungs and caused chronic breathing diseases. The windows were kept shut to maintain the heat and humidity that stopped the threads from snapping. And the noise from the machinery was a constant, deafening roar that left many workers with permanent hearing loss. For a piecer, a child whose job was to lean over the spinning frames and fix broken threads, the day was a frantic blur. If you fell behind the machine's relentless pace, you faced punishment. Overseers, often paid based on their workers' output, didn't hesitate to use violence. One account describes overlookers beating children, knocking them right off their stools and sending them spinning across the greasy floor. For girls, there was the added terror of sexual abuse from men in power. Mealtimes offered little relief. Food was often eaten right there on the factory floor, surrounded by the same dust and grime, which only increased the risk of disease. In some American canneries, where shifts could last 18 hours during peak season, children as young as 6 or 7 hauled 40-pound boxes of produce before sunrise. In the coal mines, the conditions were even more hellish. Children were often chained to carts, forced to pull heavy loads of coal through narrow, dark tunnels. The constant stooping in cramped spaces led to permanent spinal deformities. The coal dust filled their lungs, leading to a condition known as black lung disease. Accidents were a part of daily life. A moment of exhaustion or a slip in the dark could mean a crushed limb or worse. That young trapper, John Saville, confessed that after he fell asleep once, a coal cart ran over his leg. He was warned that if it happened again, he'd be crushed against the door. When the final whistle finally blew, they trudged home, not to a peaceful rest, but to crowded, filthy tenements or apprentice houses. In some infamous cases, children worked in shifts and slept in beds that never had a chance to get cold, as one exhausted child crawled in just as another was leaving for their shift. This wasn't living. It was a brutal, seemingly endless cycle of labor and exhaustion. The cost of this progress was written on the bodies and in the bones of these children. The work didn't just steal their childhood, it wrecked their health and often ended their lives. A recent study of a 19th century graveyard in North Yorkshire found the skeletons of over 150 pauper apprentices. Most were teenagers, yet their bones revealed they were short for their age and riddled with disease, a direct result of their grueling lives and poor nutrition. The list of injuries was horrific. In textile mills, children were frequently scalped when their hair got caught in the machinery. Their fingers were crushed and their limbs mangled. Exhausted children would fall into the moving parts and be killed instantly. Records from one mill show that on March 6, 1865, a 13-year-old boy named Joseph Foden was killed while sweeping under a machine when his head was caught and completely smashed. In other industries, the dangers were even more sinister. Children in match factories dipped sticks into white phosphorus, a substance that caused their teeth to rot and led to a horrifying condition called phossy jaw. This gruesome infection would eat away at the jawbone, causing agonizing pain and often death. Chimney sweeps, some as young as 4, had their skins scraped raw and were often deliberately underfed to keep them small enough to fit inside narrow flues. In the United States, a crusading photographer named Lewis Hine was hired by the National Child Labor Committee in 1908 to expose these horrors. Disguised as a Bible salesman or an industrial photographer, he captured thousands of haunting images of child laborers. in mines, mills, and on city streets. His photos gave a face to the anonymous suffering. We see young boys, their faces smudged with coal dust, staring blankly from a mine entrance. We see tiny girls dwarfed by the massive textile machines they operate, their expressions a mix of exhaustion and premature old age. Hine's powerful work was instrumental in changing public opinion and pushing for reform. For those who survived, the long-term health consequences were severe. Chronic back pain, respiratory illnesses, and infertility were common. They carried the physical and mental scars of their labor for the rest of their lives. Their sacrifice was absolute, a lifetime of health and opportunity traded for a few shillings a week. Slowly, the outrage against this exploitation grew louder. In Britain, reformers pushed for change, leading to the landmark Factory Act of 1833. This law was a crucial first step. It prohibited the employment of children under 9 in textile mills, limited the workday for children aged 9 to 13 to 9 hours, and required 2 hours of schooling each day. It also, importantly, established a small team of factory inspectors to enforce the rules. But with just 4 inspectors for thousands of mills, the law was widely ignored by factory owners and even some parents desperate for the income. In the United States, the work of the National Child Labor Committee and activists like Lewis Hine gradually turned the tide. State laws began to pass, but it wasn't until the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 that a sweeping federal law was enacted, finally banning most forms of child labor in manufacturing and mining. Even so, child labor was already on the decline, and the initial law didn't cover all working children, especially in agriculture. The great machines of the Industrial Revolution have long since fallen silent, but the world they built is still here. We live in the house that they built, a house of comfort and convenience, but one whose foundations are laid with the sacrifice of millions of children. Their stolen youth was the true uncounted cost of our modern world. They were an army of the small and the silent, whose story isn't just a dark chapter in history, but a profound and humbling reminder of the price of progress. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you believe these stories need to be told, please subscribe and share this video. And let us know in the comments what piece of this history impacted you the most. The story of child labor during the Industrial Revolution isn't just about hardship. It's about the fundamental question of what a society values. It forces us to face the uncomfortable truth that the prosperity we enjoy today is tied directly to a history of exploitation. Remembering these children isn't about assigning blame. It's about understanding the human cost woven into the fabric of our world. It's a call to remember that progress without compassion is a hollow victory and a challenge to ensure that the smallest hands are never again asked to bear the heaviest price. Thank you for watching Learning Life content. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us grow and motivates us to bring you more fascinating and enriching stories.